In the glittering heart of New York's L'Aurore, where chandeliers cast frozen stars, billionaire Ethan Caldwell sat alone, haunted by a decade of loss. Then a trembling voice broke the silence. "May I have your leftovers, Sir Sarah?" A young mother clutching her baby wasn't begging, she was fighting for survival. One plate of food, one fleeting moment, sparked a journey neither saw coming, a tale of compassion, secrets, and a love that rebuilt a family from ashes. It's a story that will hopefully touch your heart. You won't believe where it leads. Welcome to A Story That Lingers. Before we continue, let us know in the comments, where are you watching? If these stories resonate with you, please hit that subscribe button to support the channel, because tomorrow we'll have another special story for you. L'Aurore, New York's crown jewel of dining, glowed under chandeliers shaped like frozen stars. Their light spilled over white linen tables where crystal glasses clinked and wealth hummed in every corner. The piano's soft notes curled through the air, a velvet thread weaving elegance into the night. Ethan Caldwell, 46, sat alone in the farthest corner, his Armani suit sharp as a blade, his platinum watch catching stray glimmers. But his eyes, hollowed by a decade of grief, stared through the untouched filet mignon, its rich aroma lost on him. 10 years ago, a car crash stole his wife Claire and their 4-year-old son Owen, leaving his tech empire to soar while his heart sank. The empty chair across from him screamed louder than the restaurant's murmurs. As Ethan lifted his Bordeaux, a voice soft but piercing broke the stillness. "May I have your leftovers, sir?" He froze glass halfway to his lips and turned. A young woman, barely 20, stood beside his table, her blonde hair in messy curls, her coat frayed against the autumn chill. In her arms, an 8-month-old boy wrapped in a faded blue blanket, fixed wide, luminous eyes on the steaming plate. The room stilled, forks paused, midair whispers died. A waiter stepped forward, brow furrowed, but Ethan's raised hand stopped him. He studied her face, no shame, no manipulation, just exhaustion etched into her features, and a fierce love for the child she cradled. "It's for him, not me," she said, voice steady, but quiet, barely above the piano's hum. Ethan's throat tightened. Her eyes, unflinching, held a dignity that cut through the opulence around them. He nudged the plate forward, the porcelain scraping softly against the table. "Take it," he said, almost to himself. She didn't lunge or scramble. With a reverence that struck him, she drew a clean frayed cloth from her satchel, wrapped the mashed potatoes and sliced meat like treasure, and knelt to feed the boy. She blew gently on a plastic spoonful, guiding it to his lips. The baby cooed, his chubby hands patting her chest, a smile blooming like a sunrise after a long, frozen night. Ethan's breath caught. That smile, Owen's smile, from a life buried in twisted metal and shattered glass. His fingers curled around the wine glass, the red liquid trembling. The restaurant's hum faded, leaving only the sound of the baby's soft gurgles and her gentle murmurs. She glanced at him once, nodding not in thanks but in acknowledgement of something unspoken. Then, cradling the child, she slipped through the heavy glass doors into the night. Ethan sat stunned, the candle on his table flickering, casting waves of gold and shadow across the untouched wine. Something stirred in his chest, a murmur, not yet a flame. Without thinking, he rose, left a crumpled 100 on the table, and followed her. The waiter blinked, stunned, as Ethan pushed through the doors, the cool air hitting his face like a wake-up call. The city's pulse thrummed beyond the restaurant's glow, but all he could hear was that voice. "May I have your leftovers, sir?" And the Q-O of a child who'd found joy in a single bite. He didn't know why he followed, only that he had to. The night swallowed him, but for the first time in years, Ethan Caldwell felt awake. The city's heartbeat faded as Ethan trailed her through the neon-lit streets of Manhattan, her silhouette small against the towering buildings. Her steps were quick but cautious, her coat flapping in the autumn wind. He kept his distance, hands in his pockets, the weight of his own solitude pressing against his ribs. She turned into a narrow alley where the glow of streetlights barely reached and stopped at a dented sedan parked in a crumbling lot. Its windows were fogged, the paint peeling, but it was shelter, a makeshift home. Ethan lingered in the shadows, his breath visible in the cool air. She opened the back door, settled inside, and cradled the baby, adjusting the faded blanket around him. Her voice rose soft and trembling into a lullaby. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." The melody wrapped around the boy like a warm quilt, his tiny hand gripping her collar. Ethan watched transfixed. The scene was bleak, stacked baby clothes, a thin blanket as a mattress, but her love was undeniable, a beacon in the dark. Her hair caught glimmers of a flickering streetlight, like broken gold, and her hands moved with infinite care, as if the child were the only thing tethering her to the world. He stepped forward, his shoe scraping against the pavement. She froze, eyes locking with his sharp and guarded. "I'm sorry," Ethan said, hands raised in peace. "I just wanted to make sure you're okay." Her gaze held him, weighing the stranger in the expensive suit. "We're fine," she said, voice low. "We don't need saving." He nodded, respecting her defiance. "What's his name?" he asked, softer. "Liam," she said, her tone easing. "I'm Sarah." Ethan's lips twitched, almost a smile. "He loves mashed potatoes," he said, voice catching. "So did my son." Her eyes flickered with something, recognition, not pity. She didn't pry, just listened, her stillness, a rare gift in a city that never stopped. Ethan's mind flashed to Owen laughing over a plate of mashed potatoes, Claire's hand ruffling his hair. The memory stung sharp and sudden. He backed away, the lullaby following him. "You make me happy when skies are gray." He didn't know why he'd followed her, only that something deeper than curiosity pulled him along. It wasn't pity, it was recognition, a spark of something he thought he'd lost forever. As he walked back to his sleek penthouse, the city's noise returned, honking cabs, distant sirens, but it felt muted, like static. Sarah's face stayed with him, her fierce love for Liam cutting through the fog of his grief. He passed a bodega, its neon sign buzzing, and stopped. Inside, he bought a canister of baby formula diapers and a thermos of soup, his hands moving on instinct. He didn't know if she'd accept them, but he had to try. The cashier, an older woman with kind eyes, smiled. "For someone special?" she asked. Ethan paused, then nodded. "Yeah," he said, voice low. "Someone special." He carried the items back to the lot, placing them near her car, under the cover of dawn. No note, no expectation. As he walked away, the first rays of sunlight broke through the city's skyline, and for the first time in years, Ethan felt a flicker of purpose. The next night, Sarah returned to the lot, Liam asleep in her arms, his tiny chest rising and falling against her frayed coat. The air was sharp with autumn's bite, the streetlight flickering like a dying star. She fumbled with her keys, the sedan's door creaking as she opened it. A low laugh broke the silence, followed by footsteps. Three drunk teens, hoodies loose, circled her car, their shadows long and jagged. "Got anything good in there, lady?" One sneered, banging the hood. Sarah clutched Liam, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Leave us alone." The leader, a lanky kid with a crooked grin, tugged at her satchel. "Let's see what you're hiding." Liam stirred, whimpering. Sarah stepped back, shielding him. "I said leave." Another teen laughed, stepping closer. Then a shadow moved, Ethan emerging from the dark, his jaw tight. "Walk away," he said, voice low and dangerous, shoving the leader back. The kid stumbled, cursing, but Ethan's presence, tall, commanding, shifted the air. The teens muttered, then scattered into the night, their laughter fading. Sarah's eyes flashed, half grateful, half defiant. "I didn't ask for help," she said, her voice sharp. Ethan met her gaze unflinching. You can't stay here alone. She straightened Liam's warmth, grounding her. I've been alone a long time, she snapped, then softened her shoulders, sagging. But thank you. A memory hit raw and vivid 2 years ago, her parents' living room in upstate New York. Her mother, Margaret, faced like stone, slamming the door. You're a disgrace, Sarah. Don't come back. Her father, Richard, silent, turning away as she stood pregnant and pleading. She shook it off, hugging Liam tighter, his soft breath steadying her. Ethan hesitated, his own memories clawing at him. Claire's laugh, Owen's tiny hand in his. You're not safe here, he said softer. Sarah's eyes narrowed, but she didn't argue. She climbed into the car, locking the door, her silhouette small against the fogged window. Ethan lingered, the city's hum distant, then walked away, his footsteps muffled. The next morning he returned before dawn, leaving another package, blankets, a thermos of coffee, a pack of baby wipes. He didn't knock, didn't intrude. As he left, a figure watched from a nearby stoop, Mrs. Lena Torres, 60, a neighbor who'd seen Sarah struggle. She nodded to herself, her gray curls catching the sunrise. Sarah found the package at dawn, her fingers tracing the thermos's warmth. She frowned, suspicion warring with something softer. Lena approached, her warm smile disarming. Someone's looking out for you, Mija, she said, taking Liam so Sarah could open the coffee. Why would they? Sarah asked, voice low. Lena's eyes twinkled. Some people give because they've lost too. Sarah sipped the coffee, its heat spreading through her. She'd learned to expect disappointment, but this felt different. As she fed Liam, his tiny hands reaching for the bottle, she let herself hope, a fragile, dangerous thing. The city woke around her, horns blaring, but for the first time Sarah felt less alone, the weight of a stranger's kindness settling like a quiet promise. Days blended into weeks, the autumn chill deepening in New York streets. Sarah worked long hours cleaning houses, her sneakers splitting at the seams, but her focus stayed on Liam, his gurgles, his curious eyes. Each morning she found new packages near her car. Baby formula, warm socks, a container of homemade chili still warm. No note, no name, just quiet care. Her suspicions softened, replaced by a cautious wonder. Mrs. Lena Torres, the neighbor who watched Liam during Sarah's shifts, became her anchor. Lena's small apartment, filled with the scent of cinnamon and old books, was a haven where Liam napped while Sarah worked. One morning, Sarah found a thick blanket in the latest package, its softness a stark contrast to her frayed one. She wrapped it around Liam, his tiny fingers clutching the fabric. Why would someone do this? She asked Lena, handing her a coffee from the thermos. Lena's eyes crinkled. Some give because they've lost Mija. Whoever this is, they see you. Sarah's chest tightened. She'd been alone since her parents' rejection, surviving on grit and love for Liam. This kindness felt foreign, like a language she'd forgotten. Ethan watched from a distance, his SUV parked a block away. He'd made a routine of it early mornings, slipping packages near her car before the city woke. His penthouse with its marble floors and skyline views felt emptier each time he returned. Sarah's face, fierce and tender, as she fed Liam, haunted him. He remembered Claire singing to Owen, her voice a lifeline. He didn't know why he kept helping, only that stopping felt impossible. At his office, board meetings blurred his mind, drifting to the dented sedan and the lullaby that echoed in his dreams. Lena noticed Sarah's softening demeanor. One evening, as they sat in her apartment, Liam babbling over a pile of blocks, Lena spoke. You're strong, Sarah, but you don't have to be alone. Sarah shook her head. I don't trust easy. Lena patted her hand. You don't have to trust. Just let someone in. Sarah looked at Liam, his mashed potato smile lighting the room, and felt a crack in her walls. She didn't know who her benefactor was, but each gift, diaper, soup, a tiny knit hat, felt like a bridge to something new. Ethan's gifts grew bolder, a pediatrician's visit arranged through Lena as a church outreach. Sarah hesitated but let the doctor check Liam his clean bill of health, easing her fears. She whispered, "Thank you to no one," her voice catching. Ethan, watching from his car, felt his heart shift, not with pity, but with purpose. He didn't want to save her, she didn't need saving. He wanted to stand beside her to share the weight she carried. As he drove away, the city's lights blurred, and for the first time in a decade, Ethan Caldwell felt like he was coming back to life. The city's rhythm pulsed, but Sarah's world tilted one evening when a camera flash startled her. Vince Harper, a tabloid reporter with slick hair and a predatory grin, snapped photos of her and Liam outside the sedan. Millionaire's charity case, he sneered, uploading to X. By morning, the internet exploded. Tech tycoon saves homeless. Mom headlines twisted Sarah's life into a spectacle, her face plastered online. She sat in her car scrolling through cruel comments. Gold digger scam artist, her hands trembling. Liam slept oblivious, but Sarah felt exposed, her dignity stripped bare. Ethan found her at dusk, the lot crowded with gawkers and cameras. "I'll fix this," he said, his jaw tight. Sarah's eyes blazed. "I didn't ask for this." He nodded, guilt heavy in his chest. He'd meant to help, not turn her life into a circus. Tracking Vince to a diner, Ethan confronted him, grabbing his collar. "Leave her alone," he growled, voice low. Vince laughed, unfazed. "This story's worth millions, Caldwell." Ethan shoved him back, drawing stares from patrons, but Vince slunk off smirking. The damage was done, posts multiplied, crowds grew, and Sarah's safe haven became a stage. Sarah retreated to Lena's apartment, Liam on her hip. "I can't stay here," she told Lena, voice breaking. Lena hugged her. "You're stronger than their lies, mija." But the weight of judgment crushed Sarah. She remembered her parents' words, "You're a disgrace," and wondered if the world saw her the same. Ethan, back in his penthouse, scrolled through the posts, his anger boiling. He'd lost his family to a crash. He wouldn't let Sarah lose her peace to vultures. He called his publicist, demanding a platform to speak, no filters. The crowds lingered at the lot, snapping photos as Sarah shielded Liam. One night, a stranger got too close, banging on her car window. "Show us the kid," he yelled. Sarah's heart raced, but Lena appeared, shooing him away. "Leave her be," she snapped, her small frame fierce. Sarah clutched Liam, whispering, "We're okay, baby." But she wasn't sure. The world felt like it was closing in, and the anonymous gifts, once a comfort, now felt like a spotlight she couldn't escape. Ethan watched from his car, his resolve hardening. He'd been a ghost for 10 years, hiding behind wealth and silence. But Sarah and Liam had woken something in him, a need to protect, to act. He didn't know how to stop the storm, but he knew he'd stand in front of it for them. As he drove away, Vince's latest post flashed on his phone. Billionaire's secret motive revealed, Ethan's grip tightened on the wheel. This wasn't about headlines anymore. It was about a mother and child who deserved better. October's cold seeped into the lot, the sedan's thin walls no match for the chill. Liam had been fussy all day, his cheeks flushed, his cries weak. By nightfall, his forehead burned under Sarah's trembling hand, 104 degrees. She wrapped him in the blanket Ethan had left, her breath hitching as she rushed to the nearest hospital. The emergency room's fluorescent lights buzzed the air thick with antiseptic. At the desk, a nurse barely looked up. "Insurance." Sarah hesitated. "I don't have any." The nurse's face hardened. "We're at capacity. Try another facility." Sarah's voice broke. "He's a baby. He's not responding." The nurse shrugged, unmoved. Outside, Sarah stood in the freezing air. Liam's silence terrifying. She pulled out her cracked phone fingers, shaking, and typed 2 words to the number Lena had given her, linked to the mysterious gifts help us. 6 minutes later, Ethan's SUV screeched to a halt. He jumped out, coat flaring, eyes wild with urgency. Without a word, he scooped Liam from her arms, the boy's tiny hand gripping his finger. Sarah followed, numb, as Ethan stormed back inside. "I want a doctor now," he told the nurse, voice steel and fire. "This child has a critical fever. I'll cover every cent." The nurse blinked, then nodded, rushing to comply. Ethan carried Liam into the exam room, Sarah trailing, her legs weak. A doctor checked Liam, dehydration, high fever, but treatable. Sarah collapsed into a chair, tears spilling. Ethan sat beside her, silent, as she leaned into him, her sobs quiet but raw. "Why are you here?" she whispered, voice barely audible. Ethan's gaze softened. "You woke me up." The hospital's hum faded as Sarah let herself break her head against his shoulder. Ethan didn't speak, didn't pull away, just held the space for her grief, her fear. He remembered Claire in a hospital bed, her hand slipping from his. But this time he could act, could stay. Liam stabilized, his fever dropping, and the doctor promised a full recovery. Sarah exhaled a breath she'd held since sunset. Ethan stayed through the night, his presence steady, a quiet anchor. As dawn broke, Sarah looked at him, eyes glassy. "You didn't have to come," she said. Ethan shook his head. "I did." Outside, the city stirred, but inside that sterile room, something shifted, a bond forged, not in words but in shared silence. Sarah held Liam, now sleeping, his tiny chest rising. Ethan watched, his heart twisting, not with pity, but with a truth he couldn't name. For the first time in a decade, he wasn't running from his grief, he was stepping towards something new. The media storm grew, vicious headlines, venomous gold digger traps, billionaire Sarah hid in Lena's apartment, scrolling through X, each swipe a wound scammer leech. Liam slept in her arms, but she felt exposed, her life a spectacle. Ethan, in his penthouse, watched the posts multiply, his anger white hot. He'd lost his family to a crash. He wouldn't let Sarah lose her dignity to lies. He called his publicist, demanding a live TV slot, no script, no filter. That night, in a quiet studio under soft lights, Ethan faced the camera. "10 years ago, I lost my wife and son," he said, voice steady but raw. "I stopped living. My wealth, my empire. It was all a distraction. Then I met Sarah. She didn't ask for help, didn't ask for money. She just wanted to feed her son Liam." His voice cracked. "She's not a headline. She's a mother. Liam's not a story, he's a child. She didn't take anything from me. She gave me a reason to breathe again." The broadcast went viral, shifting the narrative. Strangers donated to shelters, shared stories of struggle. Mothers posted about their own fights, nurses about the system's failures. Sarah watched, stunned, on Lena's old TV. A letter slipped under the door, her mother Margaret in tight handwriting. "If there's a chance to know my grandson, I'd like to try." Sarah's heart clenched. A memory surfaced, her father, Richard, turning away as she left home pregnant 2 years ago. "You're no daughter of ours." She drove to their upstate home, Ethan beside her, silent but steady. The gravel driveway crunched under their tires, the house's faded white paint, a ghost of her childhood. Margaret opened the door, eyes wet, her sharp features softened by time. "We were wrong," she said, voice trembling. Sarah's jaw tightened. "I needed you then." Liam reached for his grandmother, his curious hand breaking the silence. Richard appeared older, nervous, his eyes on Liam, like he was seeing something holy. Margaret stepped forward, arms open but uncertain. "May I hold him?" Sarah hesitated, then handed Liam over. Margaret sobbed, clutching him. Sarah stepped into her mother's embrace, forgiveness, a slow, quiet sunrise. Ethan watched, his chest tight. He wasn't part of this moment, but he bore witness to its power. As they drove back, Sarah mouthed, "Thank you." Ethan shook his head, whispering, "No, thank you." The city lights blurred, but for the first time they felt warm, like a promise of something new. A year later, a spring breeze danced through a New York park where a wooden arch stood wrapped in ivy and ribbon. No photographers, no grandeur, just a white linen cloth under an oak tree, a few friends and Mrs. Lena Torres beaming in a floral dress. Ethan, in a soft gray blazer, knelt as Liam, nearly two, wobbled toward him, clutching a velvet ring box. Sarah, barefoot in a simple white dress, glowed under the golden sunlight, her eyes radiant with a life forged through darkness. Ethan opened the box, revealing a simple ring, chosen not for its price, but for how it would look on her hand when she held Liam. "You didn't ask for anything," he said, voice thick with emotion. "You didn't beg, didn't expect. You showed up on the worst night of your life and gave me a chance to remember what it feels like to be needed, to be alive." Tears glistened in his eyes. "You gave me family, love, a future. Sarah, will you marry me?" Sarah nodded, tears falling, and dropped to her knees, laughing through her sobs. "Yes," Liam toddled up, chirping. Daddy Ethan lifted him, holding Sarah with his other arm. The small crowd, Lena, a few neighbors, cheered softly. Under the oak, they vowed to love not just each other, but the boy who'd brought them together. The minister's words were simple, the ceremony short, but when Liam wrapped his arms around Ethan's legs, saying "Daddy" again, the park held its breath. Ethan's eyes welled as he whispered, "I love you, son." They moved into a modest apartment, its gray walls warmed by Liam's drawings and Sarah's laughter. Their quayside coffee cart, Liam's light-served muffins, and Hope, its name, a nod to the boy who'd sparked it all. Ethan learned to steam milk Sarah to balance the books, and together they built a life not of wealth, but of presence. The smallest act of kindness, a spoonful of mashed potatoes, had built a home. If this story stirred your soul, like, share, and subscribe to A Story That Lingers for more tales of compassion and second chances.